I shouldn't be telling anyone this, but it's too late for that. I work at a sleep lab, the kind where patients come in for studies. Machines track their brainwaves, monitors watch every move, soundproof rooms, complete isolation. The kind of place that promises safety, but sometimes hides something else entirely. The first night I realized something was wrong, I was alone in the control room. Just me, the blinking monitors, and the quiet hum of the air system. At first, it was subtle, a shift in temperature, a shadow where there shouldn't have been one, a soft hiss, almost like someone exhaling behind me. I turned. Nothing. Then the monitors flickered, and on one screen, a patient's body, lying still, began moving in ways that didn't make sense, limbs twitching, head turning, eyes closed, but somehow looking at me. I remember my own breath catching. The air felt heavier. And then I realized it wasn't just that one patient. The others, something about them changed at night, something I couldn't explain. I stayed. I watched. And now I can't unsee it. My name is Daniel. I'm a sleep technician. My job is simple on paper: monitor patients, record data, ensure safety. But the lab is isolated, far from town, surrounded by woods. At night, the building becomes silent, almost too quiet. Days are routine. Check monitors, adjust electrodes, log notes, feed patients scheduled meals. Nothing unusual, predictable, safe. Nights, different. Nights feel wrong. The rooms are thick with a smell I can't place. Not decay, not chemicals, just heavy, stagnant, like the walls themselves are breathing. The silence is deafening. Machines hum. Occasionally I catch a faint tap on glass, like Nang fingernails. But when I approach, nothing. I began noticing subtle things. Patients who seemed peaceful by day, restless by night. Small twitches at first, then movements that shouldn't be possible. One man, Mr. Albright, would sit up in bed with eyes closed. Another, a young woman, would whisper names that weren't hers. I chalked it up to stress, sleep disorders, fatigue. I needed to, otherwise I wouldn't last. Even the staff avoids the night shift when they can. We're a skeleton crew. Me, a security guard, one nurse. No one talks about the incidents. We log them as anomalies, electrical interference, sleepwalking, anything to explain it logically. But the lab has rules, strict rules. Stay in your assigned area. Do not enter patient rooms unless necessary. Never disturb a patient's sleep. At first, I followed them, but curiosity, fear, something drew me closer. I began noticing the shadows. Not on the walls, not cast by light. They moved independently, across the monitors, across the rooms. Sometimes I thought I saw figures in the hallways, standing perfectly still, watching. Machines would flicker. Monitors would display numbers and brainwaves that made no sense, spikes in activity when patients were supposed to be in deep sleep. Patterns, too, deliberate. And that's when I started questioning reality. Not just theirs, mine too. It was subtle at first. A chair slightly out of place, a clipboard rotated in a way I didn't leave it, a patient's sheets folded differently. I tried to rationalize everything: air currents, human error, fatigue. But the room itself seemed alive. I remember watching a patient, Mr. Albright, as he slept. His limbs moved with precision, like he was performing tasks in a dream. But the movements weren't random. They mimicked mine. Every time I adjusted a monitor, his hand twitched in sync. Doors that were always locked began rattling, not violently, but like someone was testing them. The whispers started next, faint, indistinct, echoing in the walls, through the vents. I'd hear them behind me, soft enough to question my own hearing, and yet unmistakably present. One night, the lights in the lab flickered. I looked at the monitors, and the reflection of a figure appeared in the glass. Not in the room, not in any camera feed, just there, watching. I remember my pulse racing. I whispered to myself that it was a trick of the fluorescent light, a reflection of my own exhaustion. But I felt it before I saw it again. Eyes on me, heavy, deliberate, patient, waiting. I began noticing patterns, movements in the patients that corresponded to something outside the lab. I couldn't tell what, but it was intentional, coordinated, wrong. Then came the touch, not human, a cold brush along my shoulder while I logged data. No one there, just the air or something in it. I stopped sleeping in the office. I stayed in the control room, monitors between me and the doors. Every sound, every flicker, every shadow, a warning. And I started documenting everything, every twitch, every anomaly, every whisper. I needed proof, something logical. But the more I watched, the less I understood. It happened on the third night. The lab was silent, the hum of machines low. I monitored room 4, patient Lentz. She had been quiet all night. Her vitals steadied. Then the monitors went haywire, brainwave spikes, heart rate fluctuations that shouldn't exist. And on the feed, her body changed. Limbs contorted, head rotated, eyes still closed. But when I looked closer, she was staring at me. Not through the monitor, directly at me. I stumbled back, heart pounding, breath short. A whisper. Don't leave. Not in the speakers, not coming through a microphone, right in my ear, clear, intentional. I froze. The control room felt wrong. The walls breathing, the shadows thickening. I tried rationalizing, sleep deprivation, malfunction in monitors, but my gut screamed. Then her lips moved, a single word, my name. And I knew this was no experiment, not just data, something alive, something watching, manipulating. I grabbed the intercom. Nothing. Security camera feed scrambled, my own reflection in the monitor, smiling back at me. I didn't move for what felt like hours, couldn't. Whatever was in the lab had acknowledged me, and it was waiting. The next few nights, I began to dread every step I took in the lab. The shadows didn't just linger anymore. They moved on their own, not random, deliberate, stretching across the halls, waiting at the corners. I'd see them split and merge like liquid darkness, always just out of reach. Machines started failing at night. Monitors froze on grotesque positions of patients, limbs bent impossibly, faces twisted, and always staring at me. Even patients who hadn't moved before now did. One man, Mr. Fisher, slept facing the wall for days, but at 2:17 a.m., I caught him slowly turning over the monitor like he was searching for me. The whispers grew. Patient names, my name, pleas, threats, sometimes syllables I didn't recognize. They seemed to echo from every wall, every vent, sometimes directly behind me. I started wearing headphones, but it didn't help. I could hear it through the hum of the machines. Then, the touch. Light at first, a brush against my shoulder, a cold fingertip along my neck. I spun around. Nothing, but the sensation lingered, settling into my spine like ice. One night, I tried locking myself in the control room, windows, doors, even the security gate. I thought I was safe. I wasn't. The monitors flickered, and on every screen, every patient, they were all looking at me. The shadows in the corners of the rooms began reaching toward the cameras, stretching unnaturally, bending like they were alive. I tried radioing for help. Nothing. Phones dead, intercom dead. Even the nurse on the night shift didn't answer. It was just me, the machines, and them. I realized I wasn't alone in the lab anymore. Something had claimed it. Something that used the patience, used the darkness itself to reach me. I wanted to leave. I tried. Every corridor twisted when I walked. Walls seemed to stretch. Doors led to the same hallway. The exit vanished. And then the voices clear and near. Don't sleep. Don't leave. Stay. I sat in the control chair, heart hammering. Every flicker of the monitors, every shadow, every whisper, confirmation that the lab itself had become a trap. Something in it was alive, watching, waiting for me to slip, to falter. It happened on the 7th night. The monitors went dark. The hum of the machines stopped. Absolute silence. I was alone, or I thought I was. Then I felt it. Pressure behind me, heat, something breathing, heavy, slow, watching. I turned. Nothing. Darkness. The faint outline of a figure taller than any patient, limbs too long, head tilted unnaturally, no face, just a void. And then, in unison, every patient on the monitors began moving, their bodies twisting, contorting, crawling toward the cameras. Not with their own limbs. Something else guided them. I tried to scream. My voice failed. My hands reached for the intercom. Nothing. The figure moved closer. I felt its presence pressing against the room. It didn't walk. It slid, pulled by shadows. And then it whispered, my name, clear, deliberate. The sound was in my mind, in my bones. I stumbled back, hitting the console. Monitors flickered. One showed my own face, asleep, on a bed, but I wasn't there. I realized it wasn't just watching, it was learning, adapting, waiting for the moment I tried to leave. Every instinct screamed to run, but the lab was alive. The walls, the rooms, they shifted, trapping me. Every corner, every shadow, every whisper, designed to disorient, to terrify, to make me compliant. I don't know how long I stood there. Only know the figure never left, not once. I survived that night, somehow. The lab, it let me leave. Maybe to warn others, maybe to draw me back. I don't know. But every night since, I hear whispers in my apartment. Shadows move at the edge of my vision. Sometimes, in mirrors, I see figures behind me that aren't there when I turn. I know it's still out there, watching, learning, waiting. If you were trapped in a place like that, would you survive? If you want more true feeling horror stories, like and subscribe, but don't get too comfortable. You never know what might be watching while you sleep.